So in today's video, I am going to share with you why it is so hard to stop binge eating. In actual fact, you can take this video for every problem in everyone's lives. Why it's difficult for us to stop the things that kind of hurt us, that makes us feel stressed out, and all those yucky negative behaviors we seem to get stuck in. But before I share that video, if you haven't met me before, I am Mel. Hello, and I am a rapid recovery hypnotist, and I help people, especially people who suffer from binge eating, but really any kind of disordered eating. In my world, if you think about food too much, you've got a problem with eating. So if you think more than what do I fancy for a meal today and how I'm going to prepare it, if it's any more than that, in my books, that is a disordered eating, because really eating should be enjoyable at the time, but also just like a lover, a bad boy lover, I don't know why it came in my head, you should be able to forget about it as soon as you've had what you needed from it. So going back to today's video, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, why it is difficult to stop binge eating. And this can go to any of the problems. The reason why it's difficult to stop these horrible negative behaviors like binge eating or disordered eating, even though there is an element of it that is enjoyable, but really most of us, especially for myself, who suffered from binge eating for over 22 years, and even though I hated myself, I felt guilty, I went through depression, anxiety, my emotions were up and down all the time, outweighed the moments that I got out of it, I was stuck in that self-sabotaging cycle for many, many years. And the reason why it's so difficult is, every single behavior has a purpose, even the ones that really, really hurt us. So things like, straight off the bat, and this is speaking from personal experience, I went from back-to-back addictions, from smoking, from being an alcoholic, from being pretty much a drug addict. I went through phases where I had drugs every day, not proud of it, to compulsive shopping, sex. Hopefully my parents are not listening. And then finally food was the hardest for me to quit. And the reason why it's difficult is because of that simple fact. Every behavior has a purpose. So regardless of whether or not you want to stop those negative behaviors, somewhere in the unconscious mind, it thinks it's doing you a favor. And this was the reason why I was stuck in these negative cycles, because even though they, like trying to not get into in a tangent, even though people say, oh, you will quit when it gets bad enough, but many people who suffer from negative behaviors, and because I'm like the disordered eating specialist, I'll be targeting that. But really, for any negative behavior, for the unconscious mind, there is a purpose for it. And usually, well, I say usually so loosely, but from working with hundreds of clients and from my personal experience from going from back-to-back addictions, when we delved into the root cause of why people are stuck in their negative cycles, is because the unconscious mind has hooked onto a purpose of the reason why you're staying in that behavior. And I wish I could say it's to be happy or to feel good, to feel worthy, to be all these different things, but it's really different for every single person. But the one thing that is common with everyone is that to the unconscious mind, it is a positive purpose. Even though on the outside you don't feel those things, you feel like anxious, guilty, depression, anger, frustration, sad, sorrow, and all those things after you've woken up from that moment of excitement or peace when you get that hit, whether or not it's food, alcohol, shopping, even working. As soon as that hit is done, you're hit with all these negative emotions, because the reasons why you're having these negative emotions afterwards is because that's when the unconscious mind has just switched off, and then you're conscious again and you realize what you've done. And that's when you come in again. It's like, oh, I'll start on the next diet tomorrow. Oh, that's it. That was my last binge. Oh, I'm going to like make sure I don't spend any more money. Oh, I'm going to make sure I'm going to have a balanced life. And then again until your next binge. And that's the reason why, because the unconscious mind has a bigger purpose for you. And the bigger purpose, who knows? Who knows? Because that's where, you know, the root is. And without actually delving deep in there, many of the things that we try to resolve to stop these episodes happening, the reason why everything works and it to help it, and at the same time it doesn't, is because things like, you know, meditation and breathing exercises, journaling and yoga and, you know, I don't know, affirmations, these are really great to use as long as you're not binging, as long as you're not in that cycle, because all these things work up to the point to help with the symptom. It's like really like taking a paracetamol for a headache when you constantly have a headache, and then the real problem is not really the headache. So you're kind of getting by, but then not really resolving what the real problem is. And that is why that is the same reason why I suffered for over 2 decades, because I was just trying to get by, live day by day, doing my meditation, doing, you know, these yoga and affirmations, which is great. It gets you by, but it doesn't resolve the real issue. And as long as your unconscious mind believes that it's doing you a favor, and let's face it, if your unconscious mind didn't really believe it had a purpose, you wouldn't be stuck in these awful negative rituals and cycles. So in this video series, that was just an introduction. I'm going to be going through all the different methods that I used that eventually helped me recover from over 22 years of addictions, including binge eating. And I'll be sharing that with you in little tiny videos just like this, because there's just so much to fit in just a few minutes. And of course, if you have anything that you want answered or you need help with, just leave a comment down there and I'll make a video over the next few days to answer those questions. And if you've just joined me, I'm Mel, hello, and I am a rapid recovery hypnotist, helping people rapidly recover from years and decades of disordered eating, whether it's emotional eating, yo-yo dieting, binge eating, food addictions. Basically, if you have to think more than 2 seconds about food and you're struggling, that's what I do. I don't believe in long-winded recovery journeys, and I don't believe it has to be a struggle either. You can recover very fast, and if you're interested in that, you know where I am and I'll tell you more about it. So anyway, till next time, keep strong,